Excellent.
Welcome to Calgary Business Podcast. I'm your host, Alan Wazny, and I've got in the Zoom studio, Kate. Kate Exley.
Hello, yes.
But you're not in the Zoom studio, you're in the Studio D on Zoom.
Yes, I am. I'm in a studio.
So this is episode number 196, and we're getting close to 200. If you just waited a few days, I could have had you for 200. You guys could have put it on your Instagram. Now you're stuck at 196.
I'm going to have to talk to my marketing girl.
We're going to get
Dang.
Macy. We're going to call it Macy. We're calling you out. Sorry, but you didn't plan it right. But anyway, look, Kate, this is about Studio D, and you introduce yourself and a little bit about Studio D, please.
Absolutely. So you introduced me already. My name is Kate Exley, and I am the clinic director at Studio D. So I kind of oversee the day-to-day operations at our studio. I oversee our multidisciplinary staff of practitioners. And then I'm kind of the liaison between the physical clinic, the digital clinic that we can talk about that kind of happened through COVID. And then we have kind of different branches and projects that we're working on underneath our company name. And so I kind of am the pivotal middle piece that makes sure all the teams are working together and that we're progressing and building out where we want to build out.
Can I just say you're too young to be a director? I'm sorry. Can I speak to the doctor, please? It's like those shows, like the doctor comes in, it's a young man or woman, and like, can I speak to the doctor? And I am the doctor. So you are the director?
I am the doctor. I know, it surprises me sometimes too.
That's great. So, okay. Physical and digital, where do you want to start? You're talking pre-COVID, you ran a physical space and you had people in, but let's step back before.
Yeah.
What is Studio D? Because I'm still not, I don't
absolutely.
know. And my two listeners don't know either.
Well, we can take it all the way back because Studio D actually has a really interesting birth, I guess. It was kind of a startup out of a startup. So our founder, Danica Kelly, she came out of school. She'd gone through kines and medical anthropology and had a specialization in risk. And she came out and people were coming to her friends and family with kind of chronic pain or kind of complicated issues that they were working on. Maybe it was lifestyle management and asking, where can I go? And she kind of looked at the available clinics and resources and she was super disappointed with what she found. So she started a one-man shop that was called Danica Inc. and just started opening the clinic space and started treating in that holistic manner that we can talk about that kind of is the underpinning of what we do here. And it kind of snowballed.
So this goes back to her roots, I say roots, but literally being in kinesiology, understanding pains and aches and people, friends and family and saying, and then she's like, wait a minute, it's kind of like, I think there's something here. So she started her own Danica Inc.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of a lack of something there. There just wasn't necessarily places to send people where they were going to look at the big picture of what people were experiencing and their kind of health and wellness issues, that whatever that might be. So she started the clinic and it kind of snowballed and she brought on more and more staff and then we kind of hit the beginning of COVID. She'd been operating for about a year. Things had been picking up and then everything changed.
I apologize, but I've got my screen over here and I've got Danica. So let's hear from Danica. 2 words.
So today and over the next month, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be having a conversation with Kate, who's our new clinical director.
Oh.
And we're going to be bouncing back and forth kind of between the publicization that I see of the health and wellness world.
This is so weird.
Solution to those.
This first time I've done it. There's a lot of firsts today, and that was actually kind of. So you got introduced. This was a video that's on your website.
Yeah, that was kind of when I was taking over the kind of face and communicative side of Studio D.
Oh, okay, so she's introduced you. So how long have you been in that role?
Not that long. I came onto the company in February. So before all hell broke loose.
Just before COVID, shut down.
Yeah.
You're like, way to go, Kate. You came in at the right time or the wrong time. No, but what did you pivot? Did you guys have to pivot? So let's go back. Sorry, I want to come back to that, but let's go back to Danica. And then she's like, and then so Studio D came. D is that's her initial. Is that what the D?
Danica Inc. is DK. Yeah. Is
DKNY?
Danica Kelly.
Wait, are you guys part of DKNY as well?
No,
I can buy good clothes there?
No. That would be a really, really wide brand.
Yeah. So, okay, so Danica, Studio D comes from Danica.
Yeah, it does.
So she decided one day, to pivot from Danica Inc. to Studio D?
Yeah, so basically the clinic got bigger and bigger and bigger, and she kind of had to release the reins a little bit. She is actually starting her own other multiple startup companies, so she is spread pretty thin.
We're not allowed to talk about
We're not allowed to talk about that, but maybe she'll come on and talk to you guys about it because it's pretty cool. But yeah, we can't talk about her other projects, but basically she needed to step back. She had somebody else to step in. And when the transition kind of happened in February, so right before COVID happened, we were already actually pivoting to online. We were already kind of looking at that. And so while we were kind of thinking about rebranding the company and kind of pivoting where we were going, it made sense to kind of break up the names. And so that's where kind of Studio D, the name.
Or digital, like kind of a digital.
Yeah, Studio D Digital is our legal name.
Okay, so already making the pivot, that's when we need to hire Kate. Kate's that online. But let's step back. So what is Studio D? Because I'm still not.
No, we haven't gotten there yet.
We haven't gotten there. It's like you're making cool videos. You're using IKEA. As I see on your shelf, you got some IKEA kit.
Yes. Studio D is a multi-practitioner based holistic treatment clinic, basically. At the very base of everything. I mean, it's pretty complex when you break into all the projects, but the very core of it is it's a multi-practitioner clinic. So we have all these different disciplines, and we actually collaborate on every patient. We talk, multiple practitioners working on every patient. We have a very strong belief that collaboration is the best method for helping somebody actually achieve their goals, and that one practitioner cannot be the fix-all for somebody.
Oh, I just linked that to, I've had several podcasts, like some marketing people. Accountants are weird about that one, but the marketers really have latched onto that, or the IT guys that said, we've started this business and he or she's good in this, and they bring it together. Or the coders, someone's good in the back. I'm giving you the technical term, but literally 2 days ago I had the back end, which is tying everything into your website, and your front end, what you see, the front end. So literally you're latched onto something that's really important, and that's, we can't be a one-stop shop, but we can if we bring in the disciplines. One person can't do that.
I agree.
Wow.
Totally.
Okay, so give some examples of, let's go. So the pains and aches, I get it. I get it. Like you need physiotherapy. That's one. Can I tick the box? So physiotherapy, what else?
Yeah, so we have many, many different types of practitioners. So physio is one. The other ones that people know is like chiropractor, massage. We don't have a physio and chiropractor right now. We're kind of between practitioners in that sense. But right now we have a registered massage therapist that's incredible. We have a couple certified athletic therapists. We have a registered dietitian. We have a couple certified kinesiologists. That's our team right now, our practitioner team.
All right. So now we pivot. We're going to go online. What were you doing video? So I see that's a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Is it your YouTube channel?
It's Studio D's YouTube channel.
Yeah. Okay. Are you not Studio D? Did I get the wrong phone number?
Well, I am. Yes, I can. I am Studio D. That is my YouTube channel. Yes.
I cannot believe. No, I mean, so it's Studio D's YouTube channel. Are you showing, if you got this injury, are you running injury ads?
No, we haven't gotten to that yet. So what we, because we kind of were rebranding the name and the company at the beginning of COVID, we decided to spend some time actually getting our values out there, what we were building off of. So we had 4 pillars that we really wanted to dive into and identify some of the systemic issues within the healthcare industry and why we were kind of pivoting the way we were pivoting. Because what we were doing really wasn't necessarily conventional or normal. And even you yourself, right? You've looked at our YouTube channel, you've looked at our website, and you're on here and you're like, so what is Studio D? Because it doesn't quite fit within the normal molds. And so we really wanted to spend time and energy digging into that for people. So we did, I think, a full month on breaking into the pillars, introducing kind of the new staffing clinic. And then I think the next month we actually completely dove into curated content, which was really a fundamental base of the way we were pivoting. And so since then we haven't gotten really into the exercise prescription or anything like that. That's pretty commonplace. What we want to be putting onto our YouTube channel is more kind of thought leadership, working into, like I said, some of those systemic issues and supporting people within those areas.
So let's unpack that.
Yeah.
If there are systemic issues, I want to uncover. Like, I'm curious because I don't know. I mean, I'm an accountant who runs a podcast, who likes to do Instagram posts and watches TikTok to learn. What do you how do you unpack that? I got issues. I have real issues. So I'm going to need therapy. So what are the systemic issues? So let's talk about those.
Yeah, absolutely. They're endless within the healthcare industry themselves.
Yeah.
But I think when we come to like a clinic basis, those paramedical services, so physio, chiro, AT, massage, osteo, all of those services, I think, one of the first issues is that people try to solve all the problems themselves. And so that's why we brought on a collaborative team.
Yeah.
Some of the other issues that happen is, and Danica, I think maybe even in the video that you pulled up that clip from, Danica talks a lot about.
Go back there. Shall we?
We could go back there. Danica would like that. But she goes into talking about why things aren't working for you. And actually the very first thing she did was threw clinics under the bus. And she said, clinics, they don't work because in the traditional model where you come into a clinic space and you get on the table, and the therapist works on you, does some manual therapy, then maybe does some exercise based with you, some banding, maybe a little bit of balance, whatever that might look like, and then puts you on a modality machine to end off the appointment, make you feel good when you walk out the door. That actually doesn't translate to any aspect of life. That doesn't translate to activities of daily living.
It's too general. It's just sort of.
It's basic. There's no bridge from there to what actually happens when you walk out of the clinic. And so that's one of the biggest gaps missing in every aspect, whether you're an athlete, whether you're just, like a mom with the kids, whether you're working at a desk job, there's not a lot of actually looking at what your lifestyle looks like and how we can facilitate your recovery or your rehab or just, your
it's
goals
not you
to
client
better.
Specific. It's kind of, they're generalists and it's like, literally, they try to be all end all. Mm-hmm. But so if I did get under a bus and I got hurt, then, right? You're literally threw me under the bus. If I'm under the bus, I just want to know, because if it's not the right place to go, I get it. No, I get that. But I love the analogy, right? Here's the clinic under the bus, and then you're pulling out things, and we're going to run that. We're going to run that ad for you, but I like that, right? You can run that ad, and you have physiotherapy. You have all these things. Did you just get hit by a bus? I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just here to help you, right? But I just stubbed my toe. But meanwhile, I love that. So what are the 4 pillars then? How does that relate?
So our 4 pillars are lifestyle management, expert intervention, curated content, and a multi-platform approach.
Okay, right. Very slow. So
sorry.
Lifestyle
management.
Yeah, I got that.
Expert intervention.
Yeah.
Curated content.
Okay.
And multi-platform approach.
Wait, multi-level marketing?
Multi-platform approach.
Okay, I had to say that. But I get all that. So I get that. So curating a solution for you or him or her, right? As opposed to you come in and there's a whole hodgepodge. That machine, what is the machine they run on? You said they run some kind of modality machine. What is that?
Yeah, lots of physio clinics run like IFC to end. It's like it sends electrical currents into the tissue. It actually changes the gateways of pain within your body.
Okay.
So you don't feel the discomfort as much.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it only lasts for so long.
Discomfort. I like it. You don't feel the pain. It's discomfort. I listened to it. There was a dentist. He's talking about the pressure point. Do you feel the pressure points as opposed to, does it hurt? But that's the lingo. You probably learned all that lingo. So
psychology of words.
Well, this is fantastic. So, okay. So we're unpacking your clinic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of a theme, and I'm seeing like different diet, for instance, literally, and I'm going to yoga, and I see a lot of things coming out. Fitness is one thing, right? But yoga.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I've seen, I don't know, because if we talk about diet, Ayurveda, and I don't know if you heard of the Ayurveda diet.
No.
So Ayurveda is this Indian, it's really
cool.
it really drills down. And the only reason I know, because I was reading this thing on the history of India, and they talked about the Veda, and there's a real sort of a religious thing. But then I'm seeing a lot of these diets, like Dr. Kebi's diet and these different keto diet.
Yeah, all the trendy ones.
Yeah, but they're trendy. But I'm going to tell you right now, Kate, on this podcast, I've been doing intermittent fasting. It wasn't because I got so busy with podcasts and all that, and I was like, was one time I came up upstairs at noon and I said, I haven't eaten. My daughter goes, you should intermittent fast. I said, what? And so I no word of lie, 10 kilos in 6 months. No, 8 months. Since January. And I was fat. Like I was a blob. That's why I wasn't on this earlier. Anyway, I needed to tell you that because diet fits it. Where does diet comes into lifestyle management? Where is that?
You betcha it does. We actually talk a lot about that on some of the videos that we did because weight management is a big one for a lot of people. I mean, the most common one talked about is weight loss, but there's absolutely a population that's looking to gain weight for different reasons, whether that's disease or whatever that might look like. But weight management in general is a huge one. And lots of our clients come in here talking to us and asking us, how do I lose weight? How do I gain weight? How do I do this safely? How do I do this effectively? And there's a lot of diets out there, like intermittent fasting, like keto, all of these things. And honestly, I have nothing negative or awful to say about them. I think there's a time and place for every single one of them. And that's a lot of what we talk about with our clients is what's our intention? Why do we want to do this? And make sure that we're digging into that and then picking one that's going to be a good tool for them. So I don't necessarily personally believe in people being on any of these really, really restrictive diets for a really long time. But I think there's a time and place for tools.
Kate.
Absolutely. Sorry.
It's podcast.
We're going to be experiencing technical difficulties.
No, but we're going to continue your thought. It's just, I'm going to it'll be 2 segments. You won't know. It'll be just.
Sounds good.
But, sorry, Kate, something happened, a little bit of a hiccup there. Continue on with your thought on the diet, please. Yeah. So people come to different diets. You have nothing against them.
No, I just think there's a time and place. So a lot of what we talk about is tool development and being able to manage different things that come into your life. And I think weight management is a huge thing that comes into people's lives at all points in time. And I think having tools that you're confident, that you understand, that you have a knowledge base behind is a really powerful thing. And then you can implement those things throughout your life instead of, relying on that for like your entire life. And honestly, it's not that healthy to do it your entire life, to be that restrictive.
Well, it's incredibly talkable because I'm talking about diet, but it was literally when I was in the Middle East and there's a big problem with diabetes there. Mm-hmm. But some of the locals that I worked with in Qatar, like literally really overweight, and they wear a dish dash. So it's a one suit. And one of the guys was our visa coordinator. He did a tummy, they literally took his stomach and made it smaller.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was drastic. I mean, he was big. He was a big guy, and literally it was like night and day. And I don't know how long. I don't remember the transition because I hadn't seen him for a while, and it was because he was away. Kate, I'm telling you, it was like a dress. But that cannot be healthy. So what does that do? Because your body, your whole organs are kind of just. How do they adjust that? Your body's got to adjust to that. I guess that's back to your life.
Yeah.
No, I don't
that's
know
a huge, that's a whole different thing. I mean, when you're doing a surgical procedure to shrink or, sometimes they put rings on or staple the stomach. That's a whole different thing. And I think when you do that, you have monitored doctor support, watching your levels and having blood work taken and stuff, because that's a huge shock to your system and your body. That's not necessarily something that we would manage here. We'd probably refer that out.
But could you get someone who comes to the clinic for that, or is that not something yet you've come across?
Not necessarily somebody who has done like a surgical intervention, but we get lots of people coming in with that specific goal of weight loss, and we usually pair them with, like I said, a couple of different practitioners, and one of course would be our registered dietitian who would kind of do that consulting.
So it's kind of like going back to the ticking the box, but it's really what are the 5 or 6 things, the curated plan for you as you come in, skinny, healthy, whatever it is, age, an old guy like me, can't lift the kettlebell, but you probably have a fitness regime. Do you have a fitness regime, or do you recommend yoga? Because I've just put things here, but these are my notes, but what are your notes?
I think it depends on every individual person. So activity always is a huge basis for what we do here, especially on that lifestyle management. So when you're not coming in with an injury that we're trying to manage, but if you're coming in looking to, just get healthier, move, we get actually a lot of people coming in who want to age well, who want to be able to move well as they start to age. My recommendation for them is always diversity. So building in that yoga, maybe running, maybe hiking, maybe walking, biking, etc. My biggest thing especially I personally work with a lot of kind of women in their kind of 40s to 60s. And that kind of age demographic never did the, female strength and conditioning, weightlifting thing. There wasn't necessarily a culture around that when they were younger. And so
Jane Fonda, Madonna, come on, I grew up in that times. They were.
Oh, those girls were not weightlifting. Let's be honest here.
Oh, you mean so like, okay, I get what's it called? The studio with the, not CrossFit, like a CrossFit thing.
I mean, I do have a couple of clients in that age demographic that do CrossFit and love it. But I think the biggest thing is for those people, stability around their joints is so important. Yeah. So a lot of those people do like long walks, and it's all about that. That's their ideas. Fitness is long walks and hiking and stuff, which is fantastic. But as they're aging, they don't have stability around their hip joints, their knee joints. And one thing that we can do to prevent injury and help them age really well is to create stability and strength around their joints.
Oh, but this is incredible. Like that what you just said, it's like people should be listening to that, because it's.
I agree.
People get in the gym and they get hurt. No, but then 6 months you're off, right? So it's up and down cycles, and your diet. So back to your point about the diets and then the fitness. People, that's what people do. I mean, I'm not. Personally, I don't do that, but you know that. I mean, it's out there, right?
Absolutely.
So the things you see, the diet plans over the years, until recently. So let's talk COVID, because then there's another point which we really haven't talked about, is the mind and mindful. And then the one thing I keep seeing a lot is mindfulness.
Yeah.
Mindfulness training, and it's depression, and it's your phobias, and there's a lot of things happening all at once with COVID.
Yes.
So what did you see? You pivoted already to online, but what were you seeing in the nature of the dialogue you're having with people? Maybe Danica, can you speak?
Yeah, exactly. Danica, you want to chime in?
If I turn this, it's going to cut out everything. I don't want to do it.
Don't do that. I can talk about that. The pivot when COVID happened was super interesting, especially timing-wise. Because like I said, we've been looking at it already. So everything that we really do is about risk mitigation, so prevention. We're very dedicated to prevention, and instead of reacting to a situation. So we were already looking at how to decrease barriers for people to access healthcare and paramedical services that we've talked about. And so we're already looking at the telehealth option and the video option in order to help people access our services better. And so the interesting thing was there wasn't necessarily the infrastructure there for us to actually do that before COVID happened.
Zoom really
but then COVID happened. And all of a sudden there was all these platforms, like all these softwares that were secure and safe for storing medical information. And we were all of a sudden basically had everything we needed to shotgun us into what we've been looking at. Yeah, it was actually interestingly timed. It was actually really good for us. So yeah, we kind of pivoted. All of our practitioners went online, which was really interesting, really pushed our practitioners to grow. We had to really work on our communication skills. If we can't touch and correct somebody, how do you help them verbally do that? How do you use what's in somebody's environment? Because not everybody has weights or bands or whatever you need to do to facilitate their goals in their house. So we did a lot of like canned goods. We did a lot of, scarves. Come
on, Pamela Rife. I don't know if you know Pamela Rife. So she was showing, because my daughters have been following Pamela Rife for a long time. And the other day she's like, I just did a warm-up thing with her. And she's like, just fill in. I think it was a pre-COVID or COVID time. She's like, just fill in with bags of flour and cans. And you can get ready to go back. Use
what you can. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was a huge thing, not just in, a clinic platform, but everywhere you were seeing that, the like big fitness push, and people were using everything in their house, which I actually love to watch. But I think what really happened that was interesting for us as a clinic that really values, like all of our practitioners are certified, all of them have their credentials, have gone through their whatever exams, meet board certified. And what we were noticing is when everything pivoted, all of a sudden there was so much content online, and there was so many people advising, so many services, and honestly a lot of bad quality stuff. And so that was really interesting for us to watch. And we actually hit the brakes on some of the stuff that we were about to launch, because we didn't really want to launch with the amount of volume that was happening the amount of kind of thrown together content that was happening. Yeah. So it actually gave us a really nice pause to see how things developed at the beginning of COVID, see what people actually needed and wanted from us. We did a lot of talking to our clients. What support would you like from us right now? And a lot of it was continuing their care, being able to connect with a practitioner whose face they remembered from our clinic, doing the exercise. A lot of people just wanted that connection. and being able to continue something from before. There's a big sense of loss. And so a lot of people, even if I was working with somebody mostly manually with my hands in the clinic, a lot of them were like, let's pivot, let's do something else, but let's keep working together. And it actually opened up a lot of goals for people.
You were kind of online, then you had to take it offline a bit.
Almost. Yeah, we almost had to pause a little bit.
Were you having those sessions, like were they phone calls or were they like a Zoom-ish? Because I don't know, Zoom. Were you doing Zoom calls then, early days, with private sessions like that? Yeah,
you bet. Actually, Danica, who we've talked about a little bit, has been doing video calls with her clients all across Canada for a long time.
Let's bring Danica in for another. Let's continue that.
More Danica.
We're a great balance of each other. My background is in research, so my entire life outlook is just mostly negative. And so I think it's going to be really nice for you guys to have Kate on.
I don't want, because I just don't want to turn, I wanted to show it. I do. For the benefit of the Zoom, it's literally, I have a massive iMac thing that's linked to my MacBook, but if I turn this, everything goes boom, it blacks out. So
it's no good.
But no, I mean, it's really nice. It's almost refreshing, because what was going on, like that in itself, what you just said, how we saw what was going on, and we took a pause. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people are like, they're hammering, we got to go digital. And there's a lot of content. It's slowed down.
Yeah, a lot of content. Yeah, no, it has slowed down now for sure. And one of the things we wanted to do was have some actual purpose in this time and targeted intention with what we were doing. And so we actually did a couple pilot programs trying to figure out if people actually liked the digital platform, if they liked the brick and mortar. So and the second half of it, I'll say like the COVID lockdown, we actually did, as our clinic reopened, we ran a pilot program where we brought a group of people in and we treated some digitally, some in brick and mortar, and some we did a hybrid. So they were allowed to do both. And halfway through the pilot program, they were allowed to switch if they wanted to. And we wanted to see where everybody landed.
I mean, it's literally like the schools. They had this, literally we had this questionnaire. Do you want to go do you want to come to school? That was in August. Yeah. So this was probably in August for you.
Yeah, it was. We kind of built the program out at the beginning of July and ran it through July and August. And it was actually really interesting. We ended up with almost everybody online. We had, I think, 2 brick and mortar people that stayed brick and mortar the entire time. Yeah. But almost everybody ended up in the digital platform. And some people did like every 6 weeks they came in just to have that kind of face-to-face contact. But people loved the flexibility of being at home and being able to show us what their life actually looked like. And it added a whole other element.
Well, it's kind of to your point about the lifestyle, and then they get a new lifestyle. One of my earlier podcasts, Renee, she's an occupational therapist, Renee Schillmover. So she's got Kids OT Calgary, and she was kind of like, maybe like Danica a little bit. Like she says, I'm doing all this, and people weren't getting that extra. When she had her own kids, I think that's what it was, that extra care, and for the kids OT, and she was saying, so for literally, I've been doing this business for how many years? COVID hit and we went online. Yeah. Suddenly I never met their parents before. My group of kids that I have, never met the parents, didn't see their houses, right? Because it was always in her, or whatever, I can't remember what it was. But it's like, wow, suddenly mom and dad were in this whole picture.
Yeah.
And in the kitchen. So she would do the Zoom, all right, what's in your kitchen? And she would literally, it was great. And I still go back and forth on things when I see it on Instagram. But that literally, their lifestyle changed. And mom and dad were more participative in the whole process. And I think that changes going forward. That changes a lot.
Yeah, the whole dynamic has changed. Absolutely.
Okay, so mindfulness. Let's quickly, I want to talk about mindfulness. Do you get into that? Because it's kind of that, how do you, how it's depression. Because depression was huge. Were you getting into that?
Is maybe currently, continuously.
So, yeah. But is that something, is that one of your pillars, or does it hit that? One of your disciplines, or no?
I mean, I think that mental health aspect of things falls into our lifestyle management aspect of things. Yeah. So we actually don't have like a counselor per se that works with us in studio all the time. We do have basically people that we refer out to. So we have 2 kind of counselors, one in trauma and one in kind of more general, that work with us and can kind of cover that aspect of things. And then all of our practitioners have like a really base level training in mental health. So knowing how to address it, how to talk about it, and how to include it in looking at the big picture is the biggest thing, I think, is acknowledging that it's there. And I think that's empowering for the patients as well.
Well, I guess it's just being the awareness, because if you're not, I mean, it's not you can be an expert. You can't be an expert because I mean you check the box a lot here. But there's one I just listened to a podcast last week, and it's a company called COA, COA. I don't know, have you heard of them?
Yeah, I've heard of them. I don't know too much about them, but.
So they're pretty, it's a small group. It's mental health and fitness.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how, and you come in and I guess you get, you run the bike and they go, are you okay? You're feeling okay? I don't know. I'm just guessing. But they raised $3 million for venture capital. And it seems to be the new Calm. I don't know if you see, those app, it's called Calm.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, but it's in that space where, helping people with the mental health, but also giving you other, diet, yoga it helps physically and mentally.
Absolutely. I think those are kind of those outlets. So fitness is a fantastic outlet for people and helps combat mental health issues like depression, as well as meditation, yoga, which is kind of a mix of both. And I think what happened during COVID is a lot of people's outlets were completely taken away. People couldn't work out. People couldn't access their gym, which was also their community. And I think that was a huge shift for people, and probably why we continue to see the mental health issue being through COVID is, even though things have opened up a little bit, we're still pretty cut off. We're still wearing the masks. It's still not back to normal life. And people still feel disconnected, even though we're starting to be able to be out in the community again.
I should show, if I can get this, because you mentioned COVID, and I want to show you a picture, if I can get this up. And it's called the COVID cuff. And I'm not an artist, but a good friend of mine is. Do I have it? I can't find it. But literally, it speaks to the how people are handcuffed to their way of life.
Mm-hmm.
If I can just find, I took a screenshot. No, I can't find it. But it's literally he's drawn together where the face mask, but in a sketch. I wish I had it, but anyway, it just speaks to that. People, as you said, they're kind of displaced their normal routines, and it really impacts a lot of people. Oh,
absolutely. I think everybody's been impacted in some sense.
Yeah, no, it's across the globe. So, what is there any innovation? Because I got two things. One, you pivoted online, and you also took a rethink, and you talked to your clients. That's kind of something innovative. Is there anything else that you want to share? And because I mean, there's so much here to unpack. But
I mean, there's so much, and I mean, we haven't even gotten into any of the kind of projects we're doing out in the community right now, which I would love to chat about really quickly, because I'm actually so excited about it.
Okay, let's do that.
Remember how we talked about the risk mitigation kind of being a fundamental way of thinking for our clinic? So we kind of took two approaches at this and started running with them, and they've both kind of exploded over the last little bit. So we took a risk mitigation program and we started approaching teams and organizations. So we started with the Calgary Gymnastics Club and kind of trialed it. But basically what we did is we went out to sporting teams and we started working with them in a preventative measure. So we went in and we were in the practices with them, doing interventions in their environment. And we talked about this earlier in the show about how being in a clinic has nothing to do with your normal daily life. And there is no possible way I can mimic somebody flipping off a vault in my clinic. It's not possible. And if I tried to get them to run across the clinic, it's not going to look the same. And so we went into the gyms and we started doing interventions with the athletes on their mats, in their environment, doing little tweaks here and there where we could see a biomechanical change right after. And we started that before COVID. And again, we had to pivot. So all of our classes went online. We continued doing classes online with all the athletes. And we came back afterwards and we actually were able to see a huge change. We got amazing coaching feedback. Some of the chronic issues that people have been having from the last season were gone. And we just rolled that out with a bunch of other teams, including a curling club in Calgary. So that's just very exciting. We just have to tell people.
I want to go back to the curling in a second. Yes. But let's take, the curling injuries are really huge. I mean, really, sweep. No, the voice, you have to work on the voice. 100%. How to sweep hard. No, I get it. No, but people, see, if you're not from Canada, most people don't get the sweep or the hard.
It's kind of our own personal inside joke.
But it's like this. Yeah, there's a curling injury. What'd you do? You lifted the rock up and your thumb got. No, but so let's go back. But that's critical, because the old days, physiotherapy, you got injured, you came in, tell me about what you did. But you actually, to your point, you can see, all right, here's a stretch, or post, here's a better stretch when you're done.
Mm-hmm.
I see what you did on the floor or whatever, the routines you've done. This is gymnastics,
Mm-hmm.
but that's smart. That's really smart.
Yeah, it's a change in mindset. So
Yeah.
stopping the injury before it happens instead of reacting to an injury once it's happened.
So you see something, you can actually see what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Either warm up or during the practice, or if there's a game.
Absolutely. We can see, if somebody's doing a pass on the floor, flipping across the floor, and their lat is super tight, so their arm can't extend back, they're going to pop off the mat. Probably they won't rotate right.
You were a gymnast in your day, weren't you?
I did do gymnastics when I was younger. Yes.
Guilty. I can see it.
Guilty.
Was it when the pirouette they did, and specifically. No, but that's important, right? That's important. So you can see. I mean, I think just if you take hockey, ice hockey, grew up with, those literally the curling. Okay, so we're going to go back to curling.
Yes.
So Calgary Curling Winter Club, Kevin Boyles was on, and he took me. I don't know if you're up there. Were you up? Is that where your curling was?
No, we're working with the North Hill Curling Club.
Okay. So
but I have heard of them.
It was like nightmares from grade 9 or grade 7 when we got taken to curling, right? Grade 7, and it was at the Winter Club, and he said, so we were they have about 4 or 5, or 8. There used to be 8 sheets of ice, and he goes, 2 was made for this restaurant. He goes, but the real people there, there's 2 more sheets. We're going to take them out, and they're like, it's huge, but some of the old timers, right? They want their sheets, but they need that for other stuff. But anyway, wow. So curling injuries. Tell me, come on, give me a curling injury.
A lot of chronic injuries, a lot of chronic pain, because it's a unilateral sport. So everything's always done on the one side all the time. So the leg that they push forward with, that when they're sliding the rock, it's always the same side. The leg that's in the back, always the same leg. And when they sweep, usually it's the same like dominant side that's sweeping as well. So everything is loaded on one side. So we see a lot of like lower back issues, hip issues.
I joke, but it's real because
they
probably don't warm up, right? They probably don't warm up. They just step in and boom, they pull out the calf muscle.
It is one of those sports that has almost no kind of structure outside of the sport. So there's no kind of precedent for warm up. There's no precedent for cool down, and there's no precedent for like strength training outside of their sport. Like it's just, there's no structure for it at all in that world.
I mean, literally, as stupid as it is, anytime I was overseas and some curling came on, my daughter would look at me, curling? How do you like that? But it's a Canadian thing. I'm sorry.
It is a Canadian thing.
It is a Canadian thing, but sweet.
Through and through.
Ed Wrench, Ed Wernick, and the Al Hackner, those are names. I grew up with those names. But now the women's is more, but anyway, I'm sorry. We're not here to talk curling. Sorry, Danica. I'm sorry. He's going, why are they talking about curling?
I know.
So teams, you're working with teams. Anything else in the community you want to share?
Yeah, we actually just started working on something called an HBIA, where we're going in with corporations and we're doing HBIA, yes. And we're doing an assessment on the benefit packages that they have for their employees. Because we realized that this is a huge area that's not being utilized. During COVID, again, we spent some time doing some market research and talking to insurance companies and looking at paramedical services and how much of benefit packages people were actually using.
Yeah.
And if people even understood how to use their benefit package. I'll give you a really, really easy example. So you have 10 physio sessions in a year. You have chronic back pain and you're working with this physio and you finish your 10 sessions in February. And then you stop working on it for the rest of the year because you're like, oh, my coverage is done. But on this benefit package, you also have massage coverage and you have chiro coverage and you have osteo coverage and you have AT coverage. And people, there's nobody talking to that person being like, we can continue your care. Like there needs to be a continuation of care. We can continue this with other paramedical services. And there's nobody doing that right now. There's nobody looking at how to optimize people's usage of these benefit packages so that they can be healthier, so that they can work better, have a more resilient workforce, work longer, not have the sick, horrible leaves that people have, but with stress and chronic conditions. All of this can be influenced. And so we've started rolling this out in this community.
This is incredible. Like it's all this insight and the insurance providers have that information, but it's like, or there's no incentive. So where did the incentive come? Somebody personally said, I'm dealing with this. Wow, what an insight. But so Was it you? Was it Danica or
We
someone along
were, I mean, like every lens that we look at it, we were just looking at how to decrease risk in different populations.
Okay.
And one of the populations that we were looking at is kind of that, blue collar work, not blue collar, white collar desk job. We have lots of clients that work there, and we were looking at this, and people had so many benefits that they weren't using. And so we were trying to help people with our clinic, optimize their experience, because we have multiple practitioners utilizing their benefits. And we just realized people had no idea how to do it. So we started offering like individual little consultations. Let's talk to you about how to actually use these. And it just kind of started rolling. And then we were like, but now we're like, how can we influence this not on a 1-by-1 level? Like, let's go top down.
No, you scale. That's scale. Yeah, you've scaled it to the group level. And I can imagine now from what you're saying, I'm sure Danica, I know where you're working now. No, but seriously, because, and I'll give you a quick story.
Yeah.
I don't know the podcast number, but Richard Hugh from Viva Metrica. So he's telling me I'm an orthopedic surgeon, and I'm working at UFC, at Foothills, and all that. And I put on a Fitbit. I was like, I wanted to monitor how can I help my patients, and afterwards it kind of monitor. So they started using Fitbit, monitoring the movement as an orthopedic surgeon. Mm-hmm. Then they realized, wait, maybe we're onto something, and we can track people's movements. Mm-hmm. And so Viva Metrica went into tracking the movements to see the data, to look at the data of how people are using, what's happening after the recovery. And so then that went into insurance companies have come to them, and health and wellness. That information is valuable for that in terms of, I don't know, how, but this summer I saw the announcement, they got bought out by a company called Sprout in Ontario, right?
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with plants and trees. It's health and wellness. That's your space. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. We've looked a lot at their model, because they're kind of one of the, not competitors, because we don't do the same thing, but they're one of the people trying to do stuff in that space.
Yeah.
And they've done a lot of buying out kind of data and software like that.
But see, there's data in what you're talking about here, right? If you could map the data, let's just say all those health and just really, if you put it down, and you go, this is one person, here's 20 employees, here's 20 programs, here's 20 companies, right?
Oh, yeah.
So then you pull that data and the usage. You could tell a tale, and I could show you, if you haven't done this, this is it right there. There's data and there's power in that data. The podcast I had yesterday was an oil and gas guy, and we were talking, Babak was telling me all about how they're using machine learning to pull data from the wellheads and pipelines and all that. But this is your data. Your 100%. Sources are, and if you map into that and you put it on your platform, maybe you've already done that. I'm giving you the secrets, but that's incredible. What incredible
That's the pathway. That's what we hope to be able to get to. Right now we're doing that as, manpower, like our people are doing that. We're doing that research, we're doing that collection. And hopefully we can get to a point where it is scalable, to a point where we can be able to predict and all
scalable.
of that.
You just need to 100%. You need to bring it.
Yeah.
You're bringing it already, right?
Yeah.
Into a platform where somebody is pulling that data. You should talk to Delta Form Technologies. Greg McKiernan, right? Literally just pulling data.
Yeah.
Him and I were talking, and he says, I bought a house with a hot tub. And he goes, so what do I do with this hot tub? So he starts Googling, and it was all over the place. So he's like, I got some push. I used Microsoft, whatever. I did push notifications. Now I have a full service manual after my weekend of research. But there's power in data, and
absolutely.
There's low hanging fruit. And for me, I listen to you and I'm thinking, wow, there's another platform of that. Really, the HPIA, is that what?
HPIA, yeah. Health Benefit Impact Assessment.
Wow. Well, Kate, I'm speechless. But no, is there anything else? Literally, you shared a lot, but
we did cover a lot.
I don't want to leave you hanging. I don't want to leave you hanging.
No, you were great. We got a little hung up on curling, but I felt like we really dug into most of it.
You want to? Don't get me started on curling again.
No, I really, really appreciate you having me on here and just being able to talk to people about this and get the word out there. And even some of your ideas are going to be great. I have notes, and I'm going to go look into some of those things.
Well, this whole thing. Oh, Wobot. That's the other one. Again, it's not about you guys, but there's that sort of element, the pre-screen, right? So Wobot, if you listen, so it's basically it's an app that lets you feel like you're speaking to a human. So it's curated enough, and I'm sure I listened to the podcast 2 years ago. I'm sure that now that they've gotten up more data, so the human feels like they're talking. The question and dialogue, it's not really in depth, but it gets you as the diagnostics gives you enough information for you as a recipient, so you can, and then them as well to, all right, we're going to tee you off to the clinic now. We're going to tee you off to the massage therapist or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, help you get on the right path.
So you pre-screen, not an individual, but again, but there's stuff out there.
Yeah.
And a lot of things I'm learning with some of the podcasts is that they're using the free tools or the very affordable tools instead of creating a massive new system. And then again, I don't know where you guys are at on that stage, but there's been a lot of tech people in my podcast that get that you don't need to recreate the wheel. I know you're looking away, you're laughing. Okay. But anyway, Kate, really been a pleasure. Any last words? Where can people find the Studio D?
So our brick and mortar studio is on 10th Street, right across from the Marriott Hotel.
10th Street.
10th Street and 6th or 5th.
So you're downtown-ish?
Yep.
Oh.
Downtown-ish. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. Or you can find us at Studio D Digital on our website, and you can book online, and you can see us on our digital platform if you're not comfortable coming in, or if you're happy in your living room.
I found you. See, I've got both in. Okay, I'm going to try to slowly move. So just to prove to you.
This is risky.
Oh, no.
You called it.
Yeah.
That is a very tenuous situation you got going over there.
Well, because the cord, it's just the firewire that joins my MacBook, and I tell you the iMac. But anyway, we're getting off. Kate, I'll stop the podcast. Thank you very much, and then
thank you.
We'll finish on the Zoom.
Perfect.
But thank you so much.